Hey guys, what's up? My name is Zach, and today I'm going to be discussing why I believe that Fox News and the right wing's claims about the midterms are delusional. So to start out, as most of you probably know at this point, the Republicans have made gains in the Senate, and that the Democrats have made gains in the House. The Republicans have retained control of the Senate, and the Democrats have taken control of the House of Representatives. So as soon as these results came out, Fox News started to pump out videos. They still are trying to discuss about how that the Republicans did much better than expected in the Senate, that they beat expectations in the House. So one of those things are true and one of those things aren't. The thing that isn't true is that the Republicans did better in the House than expected. The Republicans did just about as well in the House as they were anticipated, which is not good. The Democrats were averaged to gain at least 30 seats. They seem set to gain at least 35. So if anything, it's the Democrats doing better in the House than anticipated. Now to the Senate, they are right in saying that the Republicans did better in the Senate than expected. That is clear to anyone who can see. However, they are phrasing that argument around the fact or the notion that this means that the Republicans are going to do better across the country overall, and that this means that the Republicans are going to be that their chances of being reelected and that Trump's chances of being reelected in 2020 have increased. That's the argument that they're trying to phrase these results around, and that argument is delusional. And here's why. If we're looking at the races where the Republicans won in, it is correct to say that they beat expectations in the Senate, as I said before. This is a big victory for them. I wouldn't say big victory for them. It's a big victory for them in the states where they won in the Senate, obviously. But in the long run, this is not a big victory. And the reason why is because they won Senate seats in North Dakota, Missouri, and Indiana. These are states that went to Trump by 20-plus points. Now, as I said before, if we're just looking at this from a 2018 midterm perspective, yes, this is a victory for the Republicans. However, if we're looking at this in the long run, which is really the only relevant way to look at this election, it is absolutely not a victory for the Republicans. These are states that are most likely going to go to them in 2020 and in most other elections to come, no matter what. So this is not, in the long run, a big victory for them. Now, if we're looking at states where Democrats won in, going over to Nevada, this is a state that Trump used to be competitive in. This is a state that was competitive in 2016. And Jackie Rosen beat expectations here and won against Dean Heller by a relatively solid margin. So if we're looking at states that are competitive, Nevada is one of them, Arizona is another. Although there's still votes to be called here, I think that regardless, this can be seen as a benefit for Democrats because Arizona is a state that was solidly in the Republicans' column for years and years. This was seen as the Republicans' stronghold in the Southwest. This was John McCain's state. This was a state that Republicans could count on. And now we're seeing a very sudden and dramatic shift to the left. We've been seeing it since 2016. Trump won by, I believe, under 5 points in this state. And we're seeing it now. Kirsten Sinema is currently leading against Martha McSally. And even if she loses, she's going to be losing by about a fraction of a percentage point. And that already indicates that this state is now a toss-up. And that is not a good thing for Republicans in any way, that Arizona is now becoming a toss-up. And it's not just Arizona. If we're looking at Texas, Ted Cruz won here, and as I said before, if we're just looking at this in the context of the 2018 election, this is a victory for the Republicans. However, Beto O'Rourke beat expectations in the state, and that's something that Fox News and the right isn't mentioning at all. That Beto O'Rourke definitely beat expectations. He was not expected to win. No one expected him to win. I didn't expect him to win. I expected Ted Cruz to win by about 3 or 4 points. And Beto O'Rourke lost by about a margin of 2.6 points, which is a very small margin. It's smaller than in states like Missouri and Indiana and North Dakota, where it was expected to be even closer. That should be something that's significant. That Beto O'Rourke did better in this state, which I called likely, than in states like Missouri, Indiana, and North Dakota, where I've been calling them as pure toss-ups for the most part. Most people have been calling them as pure toss-ups throughout the 2018 election. So that is an absolute benefit for the Democrats in the context of the long run to 2020, which, like I said, I believe is the only relevant way to look at this election. Now going over to Florida, this is the only state that does not that goes against what I'm saying. This is a loss for Democrats in the long run. This was a state that they were supposed to be doing better, and Bill Nelson was expected to win by a pretty solid margin, and same with Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum lost the election, or at least he most likely did. I don't think that the recount is going to change anything there. And Bill Nelson, even if he wins or loses, will either barely hold on to the Senate seat, or he will lose it by a small margin. Either way, this is a state that Democrats need to be doing better in overall, if they are to win in 2020. So that's my main argument regarding the 2018 elections in general, that you can't look at it at face value. The only way to look at it in terms of political relevancy is how it will play out in the years to come, how it will play out in the elections to come. And as I said before in my past election prediction videos, it's been an uphill climb for Democrats since day one. And the one thing that you can definitively take from this 2018 Senate map is that moderate Democrats are becoming less and less, and they're becoming less and less of an option for the Democratic Party overall. They're no longer capable of running in states like Missouri, Indiana, North Dakota, states that they once did well in and are now slipping out of their column. This election showed that there's not going to be any way for those states to move back in the Democrats' column, which is honestly not surprising if we're looking at the 2016 election in which Trump won in all these states by, I believe, 20-plus points. Now I'm going to show you a video from Fox News with Anthony Scaramucci. There's been a number of videos of Fox News that have this same kind of rhetoric, but there's way too many. I think this one sums it up pretty well, so I'm just going to show you that. It's just a minute clip. It won't be too long.
All about.
Anthony, looking ahead to 2020, is this an opportunity for him to work with the Democrats?
I believe so. I believe it's an opportunity for work for the Democrats. First of all, this is a resounding victory for the president. Let me just tell you, my former constitutional law professor, Larry Tribe, go look at his Twitter feed. He does not like the president, and he's admitting on his Twitter feed this morning that this is a resounding victory for President Trump. He's gaining seats in the Senate for, they don't do that often, maybe 5 times in 105 years. And he lost some seats in the House, but it was not a blue wave, okay? And it was because of his intensity. And you guys are just talking about Ted Cruz. If Ted Cruz did not remarry himself to President Trump and the concepts that the president is supporting, that would have been a way closer race and a potential disaster in Texas.
So there's some things you can learn.
Okay, so the one thing that Anthony Scaramucci said there, which I strongly agree with, is that this was not a blue wave. I've never made the claim once in any of my videos that this would be a blue wave election. What I consider to be a blue wave is an election in which, in a modern sense at least, is an election in which Democrats or Republicans, and a wave in general, in which either party can gain like 50 to 60 seats. That's what I consider to be a wave. That's what happened in 2010 when the Republicans sweep the House as a result of the Tea Party movement. That was a wave election. Anyone who was claiming that this was going to be a blue wave was just not looking at the statistical data. There was never any indication that Democrats would get as high as 50 seats. There was never really an indication that they would get as high as into the 40s. There was never an indication of any blue wave. So that's the one thing that I agree with. What he did, however, he said many things there that I strongly disagree with. He said this was a resounding victory for President Trump. As I said before, this was anything but a resounding victory for President Trump. And the Senate isn't the only factor, obviously. I've been talking about the Senate. The House is also strongly a factor. Although, and I've said this before, one thing that they keep bringing up is historical precedent. That this defied expectations, that this was not in line with how usual midterms go, which they are correct about. However, you have to take in mind the Senate map. If we're looking at the Senate map, the races that were up were definitively in the Democrats' favor. So historical precedent really isn't relevant when you're seeing the races that were actually competitive for the year 2018. The other thing he said is that this is an opportunity for Trump to work with Democrats. I can tell you that is not going to happen. The Democrats are not going to be working with Trump, at least not on a major legislative basis. If we're looking at the House map, and Democrats seem poised to win 35 or 36 seats here, up from 31 over here, 2019 is going to be a year characterized by investigations into the president. Although it is correct to say that it is not typical, or that this election isn't out of the blue in the sense of how many seats the Democrats won, you have to acknowledge what this means for the president. And what this means for the president is investigations out of the wazoo. There's going to be investigations into his tax returns. There's going to be investigations into Russia investigation that's going on. There's going to be investigations into how he inherited his wealth. I imagine there's going to be some investigations into what happened with Stormy Daniels. There's going to be a lot of investigations that will probably end with impeachment. So this is absolutely not a victory for President Trump in any way, shape, or form. And I do believe that the Fox News and the right is flawed in making that their commentary. Alright, so that's the video. I think I've pretty much summed up everything I've wanted to say. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please let me know down below. My mentality with introducing new content, because this is kind of a new video that I'm introducing to my channel, is if it has to be what both I want and what you want. It's a two-way street. I'm not going to do just exactly what I want and not what my viewers want. Otherwise, it's not going to work in the sense of the channel. So feedback's very important. So please let me know if you want to see more videos like this or not want to see more videos like this. And I will most likely act on that feedback. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share a comment, and subscribe. It's the only way for small channels like mine to grow. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.